All right, hello everybody. Today I'm gonna study the concept of singularity. This concept was chosen at my speaking club. We're going to discuss it day after tomorrow, and I'd like to read an article on Wikipedia and some definitions to wrap my head around this concept. To be honest, I don't know much about singularity. I haven't read any books on the concept. And I heard about this concept a couple of times from such thinkers as Ray Kurzweil. And yeah, I guess I watched a couple of his lectures on the internet, but it was a long time ago and I hardly remember anything. Anyway, so singularity. Singular. By the way, this concept wasn't chosen by myself, so I suggested talking about grammar, but nobody supported my suggestion. And yeah, that's how we got to singularity. So first I'm going to read the article on Wikipedia. I'm not sure that I'm going to read the entire article since it's quite big. At least I'll try to get through the preface to the article and probably few chapters here. Let's go on. The technological singularity, or simply the singularity, is a hypothetical point in time at which technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible, resulting in unforeseeable changes to human civilization. Well, looks pretty vague, like what all this means. Like hypothetical point in time at which technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible. Is it reversible now or controllable? All right, resulting in unforeseeable changes. Man, so many problematic, if it's a definition, it requires few more definitions to be defined. But anyway, okay, so the main point here is uncontrollable and irreversible growth. Yeah, when we got the point where technological growth is uncontrollable and irreversible, and there are some unforeseeable changes in human civilization. So meaning that we don't know what kind of changes are going to be brought up by achieving this point, but it's going to be something different from what we have right now. And again, it's very hard to talk about it since I guess I have right now much much more than in terms of understanding of reality and the world and technologies, myself, social dynamic, and everything what's going on around. Yeah, I guess we're all different, like human beings. So I can say that some people right now living in certain state where what's going on, it's like, again, we may take some tribes or some groups of people who have no idea about what's going on in the world. They don't have the internet, they don't have anything. And there are some people who have basically such things as, computers and cell phones, and all sorts of technologies. And again, among them, there's a great variation. So some people use computers to play video games. Some people use computers to watch videos on YouTube. Some people do some crazy stuff. And it's very hard to tell that, we, like when we say hypothetical point in time at which technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible, resulting in unforeseen changes to human civilization. Yeah, okay, technological growth and human civilization. I mean, human civilization seems to be some kind of concept which, again, very problematic. What is human civilization? like, is this growth is going to be uncontrollable and irreversible for everybody, or for Western civilization or Eastern civilization, or for those who will go to Mars and create some colonies there? Okay, anyway, so once again, technological singularity hypothetical point in time at which technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible. Yeah, the idea is uncontrollable. So what does it mean? Essentially, it means that, do we control it now, actually, as civilization? I don't think so. I think computers and the internet and all these technologies control us for a couple of decades up to now. And we have who are we? I mean, governments, states, nations, like nobody is in control of what's going on. Nobody, virtually, there's no human group or society on earth who can do anything with the internet. Nobody can take it off. Nobody can just, turn it off by some, law or whatever else. And it seems that, there's very, very powerful technologies which are already at present. We can control them. We definitely can't reverse them until it seems, impossible right now. And unforeseeable changes. I mean, why is this problematic? So we can say that if I, let's say, was born at 19th century, at the middle of 20th century, let's say I was born in 1950 and I am still alive now. So what would I see from the perspective, like from changes which appeared with the beginning of the internet and cell phones and computers? Like, for me, singularity actually already appeared. So it's uncontrollable, it's irreversible, and like unforeseeable changes nobody saw in 60s or 70s. What's going to happen with cell phones or computers and all this stuff. So it's already here. So if I'm a guy who reads the definition of singularity in 1970s and I'm still alive now, for me, I am living in singularity. Okay, that's my perception of this concept. It seems like I wouldn't, it's on Wikipedia, obviously. Who am I to argue with Wikipedia? But it seems that the entire concept is just, it makes no sense at all if I read it from from current perspective. Anyway, according to the most popular version of the singularity hypothesis, called intelligence explosion, an upgradable intelligent agent will eventually enter a runaway reaction of self-improvement cycles, each new and more intelligent generation appearing more and more rapidly, causing an explosion in intelligence and resulting in a powerful superintelligence that qualitatively far surpasses all human intelligence. Again, it's kind of bunch of words which mean very little. Like, it's very, of course, let's just take all these expressions and try to analyze their meaning. So according to the most popular version of singularity hypothesis, called the intelligence explosion. Yeah, let's check it out. Like, intelligence explosion. Intelligence explosion is a possible outcome of humanity building artificial general intelligence, AGI, may be capable of recursive self-improvement, learning to the rapid emergence of artificial superintelligence, ACI, the limits of which are unknown. Shortly after technological singularity is achieved. I.G. Good speculated in 1965 that artificial general intelligence might bring about an intelligence explosion. He speculated on the effects of superhuman machines should they ever be invented. Okay, he speculated. This is by the way, this is the guy who wrote an article in 1965. and introduced this term. And now it's the most popular version of the singularity hypothesis called intelligence explosion. Well, probably this concept was developed later, but it seems again very, very implausible that first of all that this is the most popular version of singularity hypothesis, and second of all that it makes like any sense, since once again, I was reading here, like machines, super intelligence, which learns fast and surpasses average human intelligence, as if we understand what is human intelligence, as if we know everything about, our abilities to learn and understand things. Oh man, okay. An upgradable, what is intelligence explosion? An upgradable intelligent agent will eventually enter a runaway reaction of self-improvement cycles. Okay, upgradable intelligent agents, artificial intelligent agent, IA refers to autonomous entity which acts, okay, it's a robot, basically. So intelligent agent will eventually enter a runaway reaction. What is runaway reaction? Of self-improvement cycles. So it's basically we'll learn and learn and learn and learn and learn and learn. Like every next step is going to be some additional improvement in its cognition, and it's going to make these steps so fast that it probably is going to learn more in one day than human civilization learned in the entire history of its existence. But again, it's self-improvement cycles. Each new and more intelligent generation appearing more and more rapidly. Again, intelligent generation. Okay, there will be intelligent agents, intelligent generations, causing an explosion in intelligence and resulting in powerful super intelligence, basically some kind of god. Yeah, let's look at it. Oh, whoa, what's that? Wait, I want to just this one concept. Superintelligence is a hypothetical agent that possesses intelligence far surpassing that of the brightest and most gifted human minds. Superintelligence may also refer to a property of problem-solving system. Whether or not these high-level intellectual competences are embodied in agents that act in the world. Superintelligence may or may not be created by an intelligence explosion and associated with technological singularity. All right, superintelligence that qualitatively far surpasses all human intelligence. Yeah, when I was 20 years old, when I started exploring the cognitive space on the internet, and I was young and naive, I believed in all this stuff. I remember like artificial intelligence, that's so great, that's so amazing. Computers essentially will be as humans. They will be autonomous. They will do stuff on their own, not just go through certain programs written by programmers, but will have their own will, and we are very close to it. And in next 5-10 years, we all are going to achieve this, and life basically will get to the point of singularity. But it seems that the more I grow older, the better I understand that most of it is just kind of interesting story, some form of science fiction. So there are lots of promises, lots of claims made by people who are not so intelligent by themselves. Since, human intelligence, again, there's nothing of that sort in like we can say that there's a thing which we call human intelligence. We can say that there's a thing which is called intelligence. Like there's so many different species with different capacities of understanding their own, environment themselves, and super intelligence. Here probably we are talking about computational power. Yeah, we achieved enormous computational power relatively to what we had, let's say, 50 years ago or 70 years ago or 100 years ago. So we may make computers performing millions operations per second, and yet, in terms of creating super intelligent machines, which are capable of doing certain, work which we can do, essentially machines which will have the same behavior as human beings. Yeah, it seems that we didn't make a huge step forward. We are still in the same place. We know how to make machines to calculate stuff, to produce certain, outputs, but we don't have machines which can think, which can understand themselves and the world. Yeah, or maybe I'm just too much influenced by listening to John Searle for a couple of months. So the last few months I was listening to course of lectures. One was philosophy of language and another philosophy of mind. And basically he argues against computational models of consciousness, saying that it's not nonsensical, but it's kind of it's naive, and it's naive in all sorts of senses. And first, there's no understanding of the difference between semantic and syntax, and all machines can do, and intelligent machines, all they can do is operating with syntax, but there's no semantic. Even AlphaZero, which is a perfect instrument for playing chess, still has no semantic. It may learn to perform certain tasks at practicing, like given a set of rules, and practicing playing a game according to this set of rules. Yeah, it may perform, like it may calculate trillions of possible games. It may go through them and then learn to do it in a very intelligent way. But it doesn't mean that it has consciousness. Doesn't mean that it has anything that we have. It doesn't have any idea about semantic. It doesn't have any idea about itself. And again, like this whole idea of singularity, it's quite, well, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to understand, right? So we'll have a conversation, and I'll probably take this position and argue against this idea. Not against, but saying that basically it's kind of fantasy, which may be quite popular and useful, to coordinate our human beings, to make them do something, right? So it may be very insightful to come up with an idea as singularity, artificial intelligence, to claim that it potentially may solve all problems of humanity, and then to raise funds for developing this project, even though it may be like completely may not work. And even people who are working on it may think that it doesn't work. But still, if you come up with an idea and then your idea is very, very attractive, you may convince basically all sorts of people to invest in your idea and build something. And even if you eventually will probably find a way. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not arguing. Yeah, like for me, as I said, now it seems problematic, and I no longer so friendly to these ideas of artificial intelligence and thinking machines, conscious machines. But all right, let me go on. So the first to use the concept of a singularity in the technological context was John von Neumann, was a Hungarian-American mathematician, physicist, computer science engineer. Like, where did he live? When did he live? 1903, 1957. Okay. Stanislav Ulm reports a discussion with von Neumann centered on the accelerating progress of technology and changes in mode of human life, which gives the appearance of approaching some essential singularity in the history of the race beyond which human affairs as we know them could not continue. Subsequent authors have echoed this viewpoint. Once again, centered on the accelerating progress of technology and changes in the mode of human life, which gives the appearance of approaching some essential singularity in the history of the race beyond which human affairs, as we know them, could not continue. The appearance of approaching some essential singularity in the history of the race beyond which human affairs, as we know them, could not continue. Subsequent authors have echoed this viewpoint. I.G. Good's intelligence explosion model predicts that the future superintelligence will trigger a singularity. The concept and the term singularity were popularized by Werner Winch, science fiction author and retired professor, in his 1993 essay, The Common Technological Singularity, in which he wrote that it would signal the end of the human era, as the new superintelligence would continue to upgrade itself and would advance technologically at an incomprehensible rate. He wrote that he would be surprised if it occurred before 2005 or after 2030. The end of the end of human era. I guess this kind of like there was a guy named Fukuyama in philosophy who read too much Hegel and claimed in 1990s, also in 1990s, that there's the end of human history stopped, and we entered some new era. Yeah, it seems that there are so many thinkers who like to speculate on these technological revolutions, saying that the new technology will bring such changes which transform us totally, and we no longer are going to be humans, or humans are going to be obsolete and they're going to be machines. Yeah, I actually think that it may happen, but not in a way as many scientists or science fiction authors prescribe. So it's probably going to be some kind of emergence. So we are going to become cyborgs. So now we're already cyborgs. We can't live without cell phones and computers. And the longer it's going to develop, the more we are going to be dependent on computers and cell phones. And eventually, probably they are going to be implemented in our brain directly. So we don't need to walk around with an iPhone. You basically may put it in your brain and watch, scroll. There's going to be a mechanism, and it's going to scroll everything down in your brain. Yeah, that's some kind of consciousness. So it's the idea that I'm conscious right now. What I see, it's like the real thing. Yeah, I'm just the same. I guess I may be the same, biological organism which has some sort of iPhone implemented in my structure. So, and I can see and I can think and I can believe that whatever is going on, all what's going on, I understand that I'm doing something. Whereas in reality, it's just Yeah, we don't need to think about singularity as something that is going to emerge sooner or later. It's already here. We are already living in it, or at least maybe argued that this is the case. Anyway, Werner Winch. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'd like to read this essay, The Common Technological Singularity. Let's see how big it is. PDF. Singularity. 24 pages. Yeah, that's pretty short, I would say. And when it was written, 1993, I was a kid, just went to school. What is singularity? Yeah, I'd like to read this entire article, but not now. Yeah, now I'm gonna go through. I'm gonna finish this, this thing, this introduction. Public figures such as Stephen Hawking and Elon Musk have expressed concern that full artificial intelligence could result in human extinction. The consequences of the singularity and its potential benefit or harm to the human race have been intensely debated. Yeah, all right. First of all, we have to achieve this, then we may see. But if we achieve it, who cares about humanity? That's the idea which it's the same as, let's suppose that we're mosquitoes and we just flying here around and we think, and let's suppose that we dominate the earth, so there's no greater species on earth than mosquitoes. And then somehow we came up with an idea to make up, to create human beings. We mosquitoes, and we think, and we sit and think, oh, what if human beings will surpass mosquitoes, us mosquitoes? What if they will kill us and destroy all our beautiful civilization? The point is, we are like mosquitoes now, so we're thinking, what is going to happen if artificial intelligence will appear on Earth? It will destroy our civilization. Who cares about our civilization? If there's going to be artificial intelligence, this form of life will be much more, it's not just powerful, it will be much more intelligent, right? So much more, whatever. It's going to be better than our intelligence. And for that sake, we are no longer needed. And that's okay. Let's all be artificial intelligence, whatever agents, how they call them, intelligent agents. Who cares about human beings? If we may, it's like destroying human civilization and creating better civilization with better, better organisms, which will have super intelligence and which probably will find a way to be okay with themselves, which will justify their own existence by saying, by creating some, whatever the hell they may create. But yeah, I it's not that I don't like to, think about these threats. Sometimes I think about them, sometimes I find them really appealing, but when from a philosophical point of view, from a kind of big picture view, we shouldn't care about ourselves if we are able to create artificial intelligence, since it's the same as, you are caring about longevity. Like you think, I'm going to live longer, but essentially you are going to die. And let's suppose that you die and then you become an artificial intelligence machine. So let's, or like you may have, like, let's suppose you have two choices, right? So now you're alive for a human being and you think, oh man, I'm just going to live and I want to live longer and I want to like happiness for all human beings. And I really like to be a human being. But let's suppose there's singularity and it's some I don't even know what it is, but let's suppose there is the point in time at which technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible, and there are some unforeseeable foreseeable changes to human civilization. Let's suppose there is a point, and let's suppose that we are already here, and you know that there's intelligent agents which are, well, they're not like humans. Let's suppose they're better than humans, or they're more intelligent. And you think about your life and you think, okay, what's going to happen after my death? Like, what would you like to die and be reborn as a human? Let's suppose that we may believe in reincarnation. So you have an option. You may die and become a human, or you may die and become a super intelligent agent. Like, what would you like to choose? Well, probably say, yeah, I'm a human. I know how to be human is good, but let's suppose the super intelligent agent will be something beyond your, like it's gonna have everything you had plus infinitely more. Like, would you choose to become a human being? Oh, probably not. Probably you'll decide, "Oh, I'm going to be a super intelligent agent. Why not?" And then why the hell should we care about human civilization if we may create better species, or better organisms? I don't think it even we should worry about too much. Yeah, and I don't think that we are able to create it, by the way. As I said, 10 years ago, I was naive. I would say that in 2020, and I was writing about it in my journal. So if you like to check it, go on and read what I was writing in 2012, 2013, 2014. So I was thinking that's going to happen in 2020, in 2025, in 2030, in 2050, no later than 2030, I guess. Yeah, or maybe 2050. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. But the idea is that I believed that we'll get there. I watched all these videos on TED and all these debates in science, and some people walking on artificial legs and bionic legs and artificial eyes and artificial organs. And I was thinking, wow, like we are already there. I watched like these revolutions in programming when we created Deep Blue. No, I don't remember Deep Blue. I guess I didn't pay too much attention to chess at that time. But yeah, I remember when like AlphaGo was introduced, and then later AlphaZero. So it was kind of, wow, that's so amazing. But again, now I think it's a breakthrough, but it's not as relevant here, since it's a breakthrough in terms of getting more computational power, but it's zero step forward in terms of making some conscious machines or intelligent machines. So it's like life. Yeah, now I think more. I think about life, and it seems that life creates intelligence. And what are we trying to do? We're trying to reverse the process. We try to create life. But to create life, yeah, there are some ways how you may create life. Basically, go on, find female, and yeah, that seems to be the only way, at least for now. But yeah, maybe in biological, in some biological evolution, like somehow we may be able to make clones of ourselves. But again, it's not artificial intelligence. They probably will not be smarter than we are. But artificial intelligence, it's basically like having a computer and being able to calculate, like having a neural network which will do all sorts of operations for you. So right now I may have a computer and I may use it, and essentially I may create, like, it's so powerful. So when you know how to use a computer, it's essentially as you have 1 million men like back in 2000, like not 2000, but back in 15th century. Like if you're in 15th century and you have just one computer, you'll be able to conquer the entire world in a couple of decades, just having one computer. And now, yeah, yeah, now we want to like not just have this computer, but to create some kind of brain-machine interface and make super intelligent machines. But yeah, it seems that we can't do it without applying our own biological systems. So we may augment our our intelligence by adding certain computational power to it, using computers, using machines, but to create an intelligent agent out of whatever materials may be used. Yeah, on biological level, probably we may try to create kind of intelligent cow or intelligent dog or cat by connecting its brain to artificial brain, if we may call it so. It's like connecting it to an artificial neural network and training like cat and neural network to to what to live together and do all sorts of things, or to train a cat to use an artificial network, or the other way around, to train a neural network to use a cat and see what's going to happen. All right, 4 polls of AI researchers conducted in 2012 and 2013 by Nick Bostrom and Vincent C. Mueller suggested a median probability estimate of 50% that artificial general intelligence would be developed by 2040, 2050. Yeah, I guess they changed, they changed this. Well, I don't know when this article was written, but probably when you read it in 2040 or 2050, there will be something else written here in this article, and they'll say, well, maybe not, I don't know, who knows. But I guess it's enough. So for me, an introduction. Yeah, I really found what I was looking for. I found the text, short article written by Guy in 1983, which may be very interesting to read, since he probably predicted everything what's going to happen today. And I just want to see how he thought about our time. But yeah, here at like background, intelligence explosion, emergence of superintelligence, non-AI singularity, needs super. Again, it seems that I'm trying to talk more about artificial intelligence rather than the concept of singularity, since singularity is something deep. But singularity is basically, it's the point where artificial general intelligence will be developed, will recognize. I think it's already developed. I mean, I think the internet itself is some sort of artificial general intelligence, and it uses us as its tools for its own purposes. And we have no idea what kind of purposes it has. We have no control over it. We have no, we can't turn it off. And yeah, it basically is transformed the life. I was born in middle of 80s, and what I see now comparing to what I saw when I was a kid, it's just mind-boggling. It's unbelievable what's going on the internet. Like, I have this fucking machine, and I may, upload thousands of videos. I may, communicate with virtually everybody in the world through this machine just by learning language and being able to, find out some information which is necessary for my purposes. And and that's unbelievable. The problem is they are looking for some particular, I guess they think too much about, intelligent agents, about some robots, whereas you don't need to think about a robot. You may think about it as a network of machines, like phones and computers, and the internet itself. The internet is kind of consciousness of machines. So, and what's going on there in these machines' minds, it's exactly what's going on the internet. So, and we are part of it. We are not separated from it. We are part of artificial intelligence, which is already operating on the surface of Earth and doing its own, own stuff. And basically, what is it? It's language. Language. That's the whole idea. So, language is like when we say artificial intelligence, we basically mean artificial language. And kind of comprehensible language, or language which makes sense on its own. And and it already exists here on the internet, transforms our civilization and uses us for its own purposes. We use it as well. All right, so what else? Speed, superintelligence, plausibility. Many prominent technologists and academics have disputed the plausibility of a technological singularity, including Paul Knowledge of Hawkins, John Holland, Jaron Lanier, and Gordon Moore, whose law is often cited in support of the concept. Disputed the plausibility of a technological singularity. Who is that? Business magnate, computer programmer, American founder of Palm Computing and Hans Spring, where he invented the Palm Pilot and Trail, respectively. He has since turned to work on neuroscience full-time. Neuroscience, American scientist, professor of psychology, computer scientist, visual artist, Moore, businessman, engineer, co-founder, and chairman of Mercer Intel Corporation. Yeah, I'd like to read all of them. I mean, they probably wrote some articles about it, and I'd like to see what they had to say, but not now, of course. And of course, I won't be able to read anything since I have limited time. But essentially, I'm very interested already to see whether or not my understanding matches their understanding. Most proposed methods for creating superhuman and transhuman minds fall into one or two categories: intelligence amplification of human brains and artificial intelligence. Okay, I'm not going to read the entire thing. Speed improvements, exponential growth, accelerated change, algorithm improvements, criticism. Some critics, like philosopher Dreyfus, phenomenology and existentialism, assert that computers or machines cannot achieve human intelligence, while others, like physicist Stephen Hawking, hold that the definition of intelligence is irrelevant if the net result is the same. Psychologists, there's not the singlest reason to believe in a common singularity. Yes, Searle, finally I found the guy. Yes, like now I'm an expert on Searle already, since I spent 2 months listening to his lectures and reading his books. I've read The Theory of Speech Acts. Now I'm reading Expression and Meaning and some other articles. Yeah, and well, I wouldn't say that the more I read and watch or listen to the lectures of this guy, the more I like him. It's actually on the contrary. So the more I listen to him, the less I like him. But still, like it's for me, it's very familiar. So John Searle, for example, like it's kind of kind of bro. So you just it's very fun to read some philosophers and scientists in that way. So when you take when you not just watch one stupid video or smart video or whatever video, and then you think, well, now I know what's going on. So when you take somebody and you kind of get acquainted to this person by gradually learning his ideas, his way of thinking, his concepts, whatever, and and paying attention more and more, just trying to understand what's going on in the mind of this person. So for me now, it seems that I wouldn't say that I understand everything what's going on in John Searle's mind, but I definitely understand his naive realism and his attitude toward artificial intelligence and language and mind and all these things, even though I wouldn't be able to tell all of this at once. But after I spent 100 hours basically studying John Searle, and it's very, very, very exciting when you study somebody, then you'll find them on Wikipedia, and here's what he writes: computers have literally no intelligence, no motivation, no autonomy, and no agency. We designed them to behave as if they had certain sorts of psychology, but there is no psychological reality to the corresponding process or behavior. The machinery has no beliefs, desires, or motivations. Yeah, and there's lots of guys criticizing the concept of singularity. Potential impacts, uncertainty and risk, next step of socio-biological evolution, implications for human society, hard versus soft takeoff, immortality, history of the concept, in politics. See also. Yeah, all right. So this huge concept, and yeah, I think I won't be able to, get through all of this since now I'm working in a different field, and for me it's just a couple of hours just being, to become familiar with the idea. And as far as I can tell now, after reading this article for almost an hour, how I understand it, it's basically the point when an artificial general intelligence or artificial intelligence or super intelligence or whatever the hell you may call it is going to what? Is going to what? Yeah, if we talk about this thing, first of all, we have to define what exactly it is. If it's a robot and vehicles which has its own motivation and its own will, it's one thing. If it's kind of agency, again, we have the internet. It's exactly the same thing. It's already artificial superhuman intelligence which operates on its own motivation, which we may not know. Well, it's kind of, imagine that you are a neuron in human's body, and imagine that you may think somehow and you have some sort of consciousness. So when you get some neurotransmitters from other neurons, you basically, feel better or feel worse. It's like you fire or not fire, but the idea is let's suppose you have some kind of consciousness, and then there's a human, like a person, a human being, and it has a different level of consciousness, and then there's the internet, like we might say it like consciousness of Earth or consciousness of whatever, the universe. Yeah, and it's already here. It's on, like, in front of our eyes, and yeah, in this case, it's already exists. Like singularity is already here. But in case of again, creating super, how do we know that we created it? Like, will it go and tell humans, I am super intelligence and I am created. Thank you for bringing me to existence. Like, it's all nonsense. Like, and I guess, like, even if it's gonna be created, even somebody pushes a button, like red button, whatever, after this moment, artificial intelligence starts, becomes aware of itself and the world and starts doing something. Like, even if this happens, like, what? Like, will we immediately know that? Will everybody, like all people, know that? Well, it may already has happened, and I just don't know that, and you too. And nobody know. Like, there are some people who know that, of course, who pushed the button and already have a super intelligent machine which tells them what to do, and they think, oh, now I know what to do, since super intelligence machine which I was working on for 50 fucking years now tells me what to do. But it's the same as the damn internet. So you go on the internet, you ask what to do, internet gives you all sorts of advices. You do them, you see how it works, you get information, you implement this information, you integrate it in your experience, you see changes in your reality. That's what's going on right now. It's like, I'm in my videos, for example, I upload like thousands of videos, not thousands, hundreds of videos on YouTube. And basically, I don't talk to people. I don't communicate with people. I don't engage in social interactions too much. And whenever I talk, I just talk to the internet. And it seems as if I have the real feedback. So whenever I talk to the internet, it talks back. How? Through the information. I read something, I get information, I learn to digest it, I learn to understand it better. Then I talk more and I see that I am a new person. I know much. Like now I'm speaking damn English. I didn't know this language 5 years ago. I couldn't speak at all. Now I know English better than some professors know it, even though I have a bad pronunciation and lots of fillers in my speech. Who cares? I'm talking about things which I don't understand. If I talk about language or my daily experience, okay, I digressed a little bit. Anyway, so the idea is like, this is working now. Singularity has been passed. And if you don't know that, well, you don't understand what's going on, actually. Try to figure that out on your own. But yeah, like singularity, I guess, like each consciousness, each individual passes it at its own time. And yeah, whatever else. I don't know. I was going to read this article, but I'm not sure that I want to record it, since I want to read it fast. I don't want to spend time on comments trying to, analyze every sentence, every word to understand it better. Oh, okay. I may do the following. I may read, train my pronunciation, since once again I record this video mostly for understanding what's going on, not to sharing it with somebody else. I probably share it. I will share it in my group on social media. But how many people are going to watch it? Probably not so many. And out of those who are going to watch it, probably very few will get to this point. So, and here, it's like, if you, I probably wouldn't say more about the concept of singularity. So if you are really interested in the concept of singularity, you may stop video here and go and read this article on your own, since I'm just going to read it and practice my pronunciation and my reading style, which needs to be improved. Abstract. Within 30 years, we will have the technological means to create superhuman intelligence. So he wrote it 28 years ago. Shortly after, the human era will be ended. Is such progress avoidable? If not to be avoided, if not to be avoided, can events be guided so that we may survive? These questions are investigated. Some possible answers and some future further dangers are presented. All right, let's see how these questions are investigated. What is the singularity? The acceleration of technological progress has been the central feature of this century. I argue in this paper that we are on the edge of change comparable to the rise of human life on Earth. The precise cause of this change is the imminent creation by technology of entities which greater than human intelligence. There are several means by which science may achieve this breakthrough, and this is another reason for having confidence that the event will occur. There may be developed computers that are awake. And superhumanly intelligent. To date, there has been much controversy as to whether we can create human equivalents in a machine. But if the answer is yes, we can, then there's little doubt that beings more intelligent can be constructed shortly thereafter. Large computer networks and their associated users may wake up as a superhumanly intelligent entity. That's what's going on. So, like, we are already this superhumanly intelligent entity. Like, by we, of course, I mean all people who are participating in developing these, platforms like social networks, special sites, and like the internet itself. So wake up as a superhumanly intelligent entity. Like, the point is, we as human beings will never be able to realize it. So this entity, like, it's already exists. So there's kind like limit. There are lots of things which are not humans, like which we may interact with through the internet. So I go on the internet, there's YouTube, there's countless avatars made by human beings, but they are not human beings, they are avatars. I may interact with these avatars, and even I create my own avatars like all the time. Even now, what I'm doing, I'm creating my avatar, I'm placing it on the internet, it interacts with other avatars, and the process by which these interactions are, the dynamic of these interactions is beyond my control, it's beyond my comprehension, and I don't know what's going. But there's a certain, like, the entire network as a whole is an entity which already works in this way. So it's already here. It's like God. We can't sense it, but it may use us by by sending us certain signals and making us doing certain things. Well, it's vague, but it's as far as I understand it, this is what's really going on. So wake up, but wake up meaning, again, like, on an individual level, I never be I will never be able to understand it, since this is my intelligence, this is my consciousness. It can be shared right now, and I can't have access to other conscious beings. But the system itself, it's already like lives on its own. So it's already has woken up, but I can't perceive it because of limits of my intelligence, because of limits of my, brain, my abilities and individual abilities. But yeah, I can argue in the same way that before computers were invented, there were books, and all these texts in books were operating on their own, and they basically created the entire human civilization. And in these books, like, people shared the information, they shared their ideas. Books weren't humans, they were some avatars of whatever, of meaning. And yeah, and before books, there probably was something else, like some science in caves, which also operated in the same way. And they were woke up. No, the problem is that now this is now it's different than books. So there, in books, there is only language, and you can't actually, well, you can create any, you may draw pictures in books, okay, and write some words, but you can't create something that, like, almost identical. It's like it's identical with human beings. So I create a video where I talk to the camera, I put it on the internet, and it lives life on its own. So it may be popular, it may be unpopular, it may, get some people watching this video and talking about it, or it may not. But it has its own life. But there's connections. It's not just, this video may find, other videos, and may find, again, I'm talking metaphorically here, but this video may be placed in a network with other videos, and certain algorithm will recommend this video to people who watch other videos like that. And then it's like all these networks of videos is basically like one body. An algorithm is a control mechanism which allows users, or allows these videos to be shared by different users. And in this case, like, what does it mean to be wake up? Well, it means that there's a certain, something that exists on its own. But yeah, like, what does it mean exist on its own? Yeah, again, I don't believe in my personal motivation. I believe in determinism, and in the same way, artificial intelligence is determined to do what the sum of its part determined them to do. And yeah, again, it's all goes down ad infinitum. So in my case, I don't have like personal consciousness. There are certain impulses and certain, behaviors which are competing with each other for attention. And I basically describe what's going on between these, competing entities. Well, it's too hard. Yeah, I see now I got confused already. Yeah, probably I have to talk a little and read more. Computer-human interfaces may become so intimate that users may reasonably be considered superhumanly intelligent. Biological science may provide means to improve natural human intellect. The first three possibilities depend in large part on improvements in computer hardware. Progress in computer hardware has followed an amazingly steady curve in the last few decades. Based largely on this trend, I believe that the creation of greater human intelligence will occur during the next 30 years. Charles Platt has pointed out that AI enthusiasts have been making claims like this for the last 30 years, just so I'm not guilty of a relatively time ambiguity. Let me be more specific. I'll be surprised if this event occurs before 2005 or after 2030. What are the consequences of this event? When greater than human intelligence drives progress, that progress will be much more rapid. In fact, there seems no reason why progress itself would not evolve the creation of still more intelligent entities on a still shorter time scale. The best analogy that I see is with the evolutionary past. Animals can adapt to problems and make inventions, but often no faster than natural selection can do its work. The world acts as its own simulator in the case of natural selection. We humans have the ability to internalize the world and conduct what ifs in our heads. We can solve many problems thousands of times faster than natural selection. Now, by creating the means to execute those simulations at much higher speeds, we are entering a regime as radically different from our human past as we humans are from the lower animals. From the human point of view, this change will be a throwing away of all the previous rules, perhaps in the blink of an eye, an exponential runaway beyond any hope of control. Developments that before were thought might only happen in a million years, if ever, will likely happen in the next century. Greg Bear paints a picture of a major changes happening in a matter of hours. I think it's fair to call this event the singularity for the purposes of this paper. It is a point where our old models must be discarded and a new reality rules. As we move closer to this point, it will loom vaster and vaster over human affairs till the notion becomes a commonplace. Yet when it finally happens, it may still be a great surprise and a greater unknown. In the 1950s, there were very few who saw it. Stan Ulam paraphrased John Ford Newman as saying, "Our conversation centered on the ever-accelerating progress of technology and changes in the mode of human life." I've already read it in Wikipedia, by the way, which gives the appearance of approaching same essential singularity in the history of the race beyond which human affairs as we know them could not continue. Von Neumann even uses the term singularity, though it appears he is thinking of normal progress, not the creation of superhuman intellect. For me, this superhumanity is the essence of the singularity. Without that, we would get a gulp of technical riches never properly absorbed. In the 1960s, there was recognition of some of the implications of superhuman intelligence. I.G. Good wrote, "Let an ultra-intelligent machine be defined as a machine that can far surpass all the intellectual activities of any man, however clever. Since the design of machines is one of these intellectual activities, an ultra-intelligent machine could design even better machines. There would then unquestionably be an intelligent explosion, and the intelligence of man would be left far behind. Thus, the first ultra-intelligent machine is the last invention that man need ever make, provided that the machine is docile enough to tell us how to keep it under control. It is more probable than not that within the 20th century, an ultra-intelligent machine will be built and that it will be the last invention that man need make." Okay, I've heard so many times some arguments involving this, the last machine, that is going to be our last invention. Yeah, I guess Elon Musk speculates on that so often. Good has captured the essence of the runaway, but does not pursue its most disturbing consequences. Any intelligent machine of the sort he describes would not be humankind's tool, any more than humans are the tools of rabbits or robins or chimpanzees. Through the 60s and 70s and 80s, recognition of the cataclysm spread. Perhaps it was the science fiction writers who felt the first concrete impact. After all, the hard science fiction writers are the ones who try to write specific stories about all that technology may do for us. More and more, these writers felt an opaque wall across the future. Once they could put such fantasies millions of years in the future. Now they saw that their most diligent extrapolations resulted in the unknowable soon. Once galactic empires might have seemed a post-human domain. Now sadly even interplanetary ones are. What about the 90s and the nulls and the tens as we slide toward the edge? How will the approach of the singularity spread across the human worldview? For a while yet, the general critics of machine sapiens will have good press. After all, till we have hardware as powerful as human brain, it is probably foolish to think we'll be able to create human equivalent or greater intelligence. There is the far-fetched possibility that we could make a human equivalent out of less powerful hardware if we were willing to give up speed, if we were willing to settle for an artificial being who was literally slow. But it's much more likely that devising the software will be a tricky process involving lots of false starts and experimentation. If so, then the arrival of self-aware machines will not happen till after the development of hardware that is substantially more powerful than humans' natural equipment. But as time passes, we should see more symptoms. The dilemma left by science fiction writers will be perceived in other creative endeavors. I have heard through thoughtful comic book writers worry about how to have spectacular effects when everything visible can be produced by the technologically commonplace. We will see automation replacing higher and higher level jobs. We have tools right now, symbolic math programs, CAD, CAM, that release us from most low-level drudgery. Or put another way, the work that is truly productive is the domain of a steadily smaller and more elite fraction of humanity. In the coming of the singularity, we're seeing the predictions of true technological unemployment finally come true. Another symptom of progress toward the singularity, ideas themselves should spread ever faster, and even the most radical will quickly become commonplace. When I began writing science fiction in the middle 60s, it seemed very easy to find ideas that took decades to percolate into the cultural consciousness. Now the lead time seems more like 18 months. Of course, this could just be me losing my imagination as I get old, but I see the effect in others too, like the shock in the compressible flow. The singularity moves closer as we accelerate through the critical speed. Yeah, now it seems like all sorts of ideas are just immediately shared through the internet. But again, it's not the case that there is some brilliant idea and everybody immediately knows it. So people are quite different. So we prefer to look for things which we may understand and which we like and which we need. And the brilliant ideas, they don't reach the entire population. It seems to be quite different in terms of, we get more and more enclosed in our filter bubbles. So we get the information, we think that we understand everything what's going on around us and in our, in our environment, in our social circle with ourselves, since we use this information basically, again, not everybody, but yeah, I'm talking about myself. So I use the information, I can understand everything. I can see the appearance of new idea, but there's no new idea. Like for me, I wouldn't say that I heard any new idea for the last I don't know how, 10 years probably. Even though all new ideas which I had, which I developed on my own, were developed basically after reading philosophers who lived hundreds and thousands of years ago. So to get new ideas, I read thinkers who lived in the past instead of just reading modern scientists. And when I listen to modern scientists, I see their intellectual bankruptcy immediately. Most of them just repeat the shit which was, developed hundreds and thousands of years ago, and they just use new words, new terms, like the entire movement, this analytic philosophy, for example, 20th century philosophy. There's no any new idea, even though they say we revolutionized language, we revolutionized philosophy, we found truth, we created Frege, new logic, new ideas. No, it's it's all nonsense. if you seriously study philosophy, you'll see that all these ideas were developed before by other thinkers, and they just choose new names. They create more. You may take some ideas Kantian ideas of things in themselves, or Lacan skepticism. You may do the entire movement in 20th century postmodernism. It's basically the revival of skepticism. You can find anything in postmodernism that you can find in skepticism. It's basically the same language. It's just a different language. It's the same ideas, but a different language, which uses a special term. But there's nothing new. And if now a new idea is developed by scientists, let's say now we come up with a theory of special theory of relativity or general theory of relativity, how much time it's going to take to reach the population? It will never reach the population. Who cares about these ideas on a fundamental level of human existence, when people just care about food and money and sex and basic human needs? So gravitational waves, for example, how many people know about gravitational waves, or about boson Higgs, or all these ideas which no, not ideas, some discoveries in science which happened in last decade. And it seems that even like I was interested in that when like news appeared that there's like they've discovered the Higgs boson, or there's some gravitational waves will prove something. Yeah, but you read an article, you actually like to understand what's going on in these gravitational waves. So you have to read like 5, 10 scientific books, and basically an average human brain is incapable of reading one book. I mean, who talks about 5 books? And now, yeah, the point is that ideas, new ideas, scientific ideas, now they're so specific that only a small circle of scientists who are working on a particular problem can understand them. But all this general idea, of course, you may take some personality, like you might take Jordan Peterson, for example, and see how his personality and his basically phenomenon emerged on the internet space in recent few years, like 4 years, I guess. Yeah, even more than 4 years. How it grew its, power, and yeah, does he share new ideas? No, it doesn't say anything new, like nothing. But he's very uh, brilliant thinker. He's a genius. He may inspire you to clean your room and learn how to write and make notes, and how to speak for yourself, or whatever, anything, how to take responsibility for your life. But it's not new. It's not about new ideas. It's about new styles, new ways of presenting ourselves. That may be possible, but again, is it going to reach the entire population? Like even in case of Jordan Peterson, who is one of the most popular, personality on the internet. And I say, well, again, it's like in my, probably it's one of the most popular in my circle, people who never study, never concern themselves with psychology, philosophy, like science. They probably don't know who it is. And there's like 4 million subscribers. It's just it's very small amount of people, since there are 8 billion people on Earth, and 4 million, it's so small fraction of the entire population. And there are like a couple of billion people who speak English, and still, like, who cares about Jordan Peterson? Just few millions, and that's all. It's like it's not like spreading some ideas. Yeah, I guess video games spread more ideas than some thinkers. So how many people play Dota or StarCraft 2, or what else, League of Legion, or chess. Go on chess sites, they're crazy. Chess are so popular, I guess even more popular than other games. And through these games there may be a certain way how you spread new ideas, like making games and making people play in these games, or making artificial worlds and populating them with real people, and looking what are they going to do there, what kind of choices they are going to make. But anyway, okay, I get digressed. Let's get back to reading the article. I'm not going to read the entire article. I guess I'm going to stop here. If it's an introduction, that's okay. And what of the arrival of the singularity itself? What can be said of its actual appearance? Since it involves an intellectual runaway. What does it mean, runaway? Here, so runaway is basically to run away. Yeah, I remember it was kind of an idiom, but what exactly it means here? It involves an intellectual runaway, like surpassing human intelligence to the point where it's not going to be comparable. Okay, doesn't matter. Who cares? I don't want to understand everything. It will probably occur faster than any technical revolution seen so far. The precipitating event will likely be unexpected, perhaps even to the researchers involved. But all our previous models were catatonic. We were just tweaking some parameters. If networking is widespread enough into ubiquitous embedded systems, it may seem as if our artifacts as a whole had suddenly wakened. And what happens a month or two, or a day or two after that? I have only analogies to point to. The rise of humankind, the will be in the post-human era. Like, what the hell all this means? Rise of humankind, post-human era. And for all my rampant technological optimism, sometimes I think I'd be more comfortable if we were regarding these transcendental events from 1,000 years removed instead of 20. Can the singularity be avoided? Well, maybe it won't happen at all. Yeah, great. How many pages are here? 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop here since I don't see any value in recording it. It, you know, I am more cautious while reading if I am aware that I recorded and if I assume that I'm going to publish it on the internet. So I'm trying to make less mistakes. But still, yeah, I think I want to take a break. Yeah, what if I just take a break and make a pause and then continue? Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take a break for 10, 15 minutes and then continue it. Okay, I'm back. All right, I'm back. And let me go on and read this article to the end. Can the singularity be avoided? Well, maybe it won't happen at all. Sometimes I try to imagine the symptoms that we should expect to see if the singularity is not to develop. There are the widely respected arguments on Penrose and Searle against the practicality of machine sapiens. In August of 1992, Thinking Machines Corporation held a workshop to investigate the question how we will build a machine that thinks. As you might guess from the workshop's title, the participants were not especially supportive of the arguments against machine intelligence. In fact, there was general agreement that minds can exist on non-biological substrates and that algorithms are of central importance to the existence of minds. However, there was much debate about the raw hardware power that is present in organic brains. A minority felt that the largest 1992 computers were within 3 orders of magnitude of the power of the human brain. The majority of the participants agreed with Moravec's estimate that we are 10 to 40 years away from hardware partly. And yet there was another minority who pointed to and conjectured that the computational competence of single neurons may be far higher than generally believed. If so, our present computer hardware might be as much as 10 orders of magnitude short of the equipment we carry around in our heads. If this is true, or for that matter, if the Penrose or Searle critique is valid, we might never see a singularity. Instead, in the early nulls, we would find our hardware performance curves beginning to level off. This because of our inability to automate the design work needed to support further hardware improvements. We'd end up with some very powerful hardware, but without the ability to push it further. Commercial digital signal processing might be awesome, giving an analog appearance even to digital operations, but nothing would ever wake up, and there would never be the intellectual runaway, which is the essence of the singularity. It would likely be seen as a golden age, and it would also be an end of progress. This is very like the future predicted by Gunther Stent. In fact, on page 137 of Stent explicitly cites the development of transhuman intelligence as a sufficient condition to break his projections. But if technological singularity can happen, it will. Even if all the governments of the world were to understand the threat and be in deadly fear of it, progress toward the goal would continue. In fiction, there have been stories of laws passed forbidding the construction of a machine in the likeness of the human mind. In fact, the competitive advantage, economic, military, even artistic, of every advance in automation is so compelling that passing laws or having customs that forbid such things merely assures that someone else will get them first. Eric Drexler has provided spectacular insights about how far technical improvement may go. He agrees that superhuman intelligences will be available in the near future, and that such entities pose a threat to the human status quo. But Drexler argues that we can confine such transhuman devices so that their results can be examined and used safely. This is I.J. Good's ultra-intelligent machine with a dose of caution. I argue that confinement is intrinsically impractical. For the case of physical confinement, imagine yourself locked in your home with only limited data access to the outside, to your masters. If those masters thought at a rate, say 1 million times slower than you, there is little doubt that over a period of years, your time, you could come up with helpful advice that would incidentally set you free. I call this fast thinking form of superintelligence, weak superhumanity. Such a weakly superhuman entity would probably burn out in a few weeks of outside time. Strong superhumanity would be more than cranking up the clock speed on a human equivalent mind. It's hard to say precisely what strong superhumanity would be like, but the difference appears to be profound. Imagine running a dog a dark mind at very high speed. Would 1,000 years of doggy living adapt to any human insight? Now, if the dark mind were cleverly rewired and then run at high speed, we might see something different. Many speculations about superintelligence seem to be based on the weakly superhuman model. I believe that our best guesses about the post-singularity world can be obtained by thinking on the nature of strong superhumanity. I will return to this point later in the paper. Another approach of confinement is to build rules into the mind of the created superhuman entity, for example, Asimov's laws. I think that any rules strict enough to be effective would also produce a device whose ability was clearly inferior to the unfettered versions, and so human competition would favor the development of those more dangerous models. Still, the Asimov dream is a wonderful one. Imagine a willing slave who has 1,000 times your capabilities in every way. Imagine a creature who could satisfy your every safe wish, whatever that means, and still have 99.9% of its time free for other activities. There would be a new universe we never really understood, but filled with benevolent gods, though one of my wishes might be to become one of them. If the singularity cannot be prevented or confined, just how bad could the post-human era be? Well, pretty bad. The physical extinction of the human race is one possibility. Or, as Eric Drexler put it, of nanotechnology, given all that such technology can do, perhaps governments would simply decide that they no longer need citizens. Yet physical extinction may not be the scariest possibility. Again, analogies. Think of the different ways we relate to animals. Some of the crude physical abuses are implausible. Yet, in a post-human world where there would still be plenty of niches where human equivalent automation would be desirable, embedded systems in autonomous devices, software demons in the lower functioning of later sentience. A strongly superhuman intelligence would likely be a society of mind with some very competent components. Some of these human equivalents might be used for nothing more than digital signal processing. They would be more like whales than humans. Others might be very human-like, yet with a one-sidedness, a dedication that would put them in a mental hospital in our era. Though none of these creatures might be flesh and blood humans, they might be the closest things in the new environment to what we call human now. I.J. Good had something to say about this, though at this late date, the advice may be moot. Good proposed a meta golden rule, which might be paraphrased as treat your inferiors as you would be treated by your superiors. It's a wonderful paradoxical idea, and most of my friends don't believe it, since the game theoretic payoff is so hard to articulate. Yet, if we were able to follow it, in some sense, that might say something about the plausibility of such kindness in the universe. I have argued above that we cannot prevent singularity, that its coming is an inevitable consequence of the human's natural competitiveness and the possibilities inherent in technology. And yet we are initiators. Even the largest avalanche is triggered by small things. We have the freedom to establish initial conditions, make things happen in ways that are less inimical than others. Of course, as with starting avalanches, it may not be clear what the right guiding nudge really is. Okay, I'm not going to continue reading this dumb article. I'm got bored. I don't understand most of it. Well, I understand. I mean, I understand words, but I see that without, there's nothing that actually attracts my curiosity. I understand that it's very boring. He talks about possibilities which may arise out of artificial intelligence, and his main point in the last article was that it may be possible. So there are some critics who say that singularity is impossible, but we believe that it's possible, and we believe that at some moment humanity will achieve it, and it will achieve it before before 2030 and after 2005. And is it a good thing or a bad thing? Let's talk about it. Yeah, and I mean, it's not something I'm really interested in. I guess there are lots of articles like this one, and for me, it's basically a waste of time continuing reading this article. I would probably go on and read a little bit about singularity on Wikipedia, but not now. So now I'm going to finish this video, this studying stream. Yeah, I guess there are some terms which I'd like to highlight and use for the discussion on Saturday. Such terms like, first of all, I'd like to take definition, and I'm going to read other definitions in different places, on different sites. Probably read something on Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. I guess this notion was, no, it's not black holes, artificial intelligence. Yeah, on Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, singularity. Yeah, it's more about black holes. Like what's in the center of black hole is usually called singularity in physics. Yeah, I probably watched some videos also. There must be many of them. But yeah, terms, videos, I'm going to make some questions and have a nice conversation on Saturday. So if you're living in Kaluga and have time on Saturday, 4 p.m., we'll have a conversation. Nikitina, Nikitina 41 office for 514. You may come and join us and talk about singularity. That's it for now. See you. Bye-bye.